GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
It's 9 p.m, it's Christmas! Coming up tonight on your Christmas Day evening with me, Josh Howie. In my big opinion, I'll be talking about whether the magic of Christmas has been lost and what can we do to get it back. Royal expert Angela Levin will be here to break down the King's speech and share the latest royal gossip. Comedian Tobias Pearson will be joining me later for some festive cheer from Stockholm. And I'm very, very lucky to be joined by a wonderful Christmas panel. Ingrid Tarrant, Andy McDonald and Chloe Dobbs. They are going to be getting in some of that champagne in a bit. It's not real champagne. Merry Christmas, everyone! This is GB News Tonight with me, Josh Howie. Let's do this. And thank you for joining us. Please let us know how you've been celebrating your Christmas so far. And do you think we lost the magic of these special days, and how are we going to get them back? Email me now, gbviews@gbnews.com. See you after the headlines.
Cheers, Josh. Good evening. I'm Ray Addison in the GB Newsroom. Our top stories. The King has thanked the nation's volunteers in his Christmas address, describing them as a selfless army. His Majesty said they are the essential backbone of our society. He thanked the hundreds of volunteers who attended his coronation in Westminster Abbey earlier on this year and said that their presence was a call to all of us to love and care for all.
On this Christmas Day, my heart and my thanks go to all who are serving one another, all who are caring for our common home, and all who see and seek the good of others, not least the friend we do not yet know. In this way, we bring out the best in ourselves.
Pope Francis has described the children caught up in conflicts across the globe as the little Jesuses of today, as he condemned the ongoing war in Gaza. Delivering his annual Christmas Day address from St. Peter's balcony in the Vatican, he described the attack on Israel by Hamas in October as abominable. But he also said that ongoing strikes on Gaza by Israel were reaping an appalling harvest of innocent people. Well, the Pope's message comes after one of the deadliest nights of violence in Gaza, with at least 100 people killed by airstrikes. Israel's army says it's investigating one attack after claims from the Hamas-backed health ministry there that many of those killed were women and children. The Palestinian Red Crescent says that bombings of major roads is also complicating efforts to help critically wounded people. Fire crews were called to the office of a Conservative MP last night after a suspected arson attack. Police are investigating after Mike Freer's office in North London was partially damaged by the blaze. Mr Freer told GB News that the response from emergency services was fast and excellent, and luckily no one was in the building at the time. A 16-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was stabbed in South London. Officers were called to a home in Bermondsey just after 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve. They treated a 22-year-old for stab wounds, but she died at the scene. GB News understands that the boy was known to the victim. He remains in custody. And thousands of people across the country made the most of today's unseasonably mild weather by taking a festive dip this morning. Swimmers in Birmingham braved the waters in hats and costumes at Sutton Park's Blackroot Pool. Meanwhile, members of the Serpentine Swimming Club took part in their annual Peter Pan Cup in Hyde Park. The race has been held every year since 1864. On TV, online, on DAB Plus Radio and on TuneIn 2, this is GB News. Now, let's get straight back to Josh.
I recently watched an old interview of Jimmy Stewart, and he was talking about It's a Wonderful Life, the seminal Christmas movie after Die Hard, of course. And he made the point that when it comes down to it, films are made up of moments, to which I'd say life is pretty similar. But whereas films are moments strung together by exposition or being chased through ventilator shafts, life tends to be moments strung together by admin. Except, I don't know about you, but for a while now, it feels like the admin is winning. Those special moments just keep getting further and further apart. The last few years have been tough for many, but for everyone, there's been a relentless acceleration in meetings and emails and bills and broken boilers and worn-out car brakes or whatever spanners are thrown your way. More and more of our time ends up being spent doing admin just to be able to do the regular admin. Not today, though, right? Christmas Day is meant to be the exception. One big, long, 24-hour moment. No admin. And how's that working out for you? These last couple of weeks, I've been concerned that the magic of Christmas has in some way diminished. Now, this may purely be a personal observation. It might be because I'm getting older, more cynical. It might be the endless shopping and stress to make sure all the kids woke up happy this morning. But the closer I got to today, the more worried I became that it would end up just being another day. You know, sure, the lights had gone up in the high street, Christmas songs played on the radio, but were they moments, or were they just us as a country going through the motions, going through the admin of Christmas? Even though I'm Jewish, when I was a kid, we did Christmas presents and lunch, we all got together, we pulled crackers. The day stood out. It was a moment. Now you've all made it to this evening, and hopefully with everyone in your family still speaking, but I just want to check. Did you get any moments? You know, maybe you've been flat out the whole day, up late last night wrapping presents, woken early to see what Santa had dropped off, the rest of the morning spent putting in batteries and more likely now signing up to games accounts, then cooking and cleaning in preparation for visitors, then more cleaning. Or maybe you're not as blessed. Maybe you work today, helping to keep the gears of the country in motion so that the majority could rest. Maybe you're still working, listening to us now on the radio. And for different reasons, maybe you didn't get to share the day with your loved ones. Maybe they live in another country. Maybe they're no longer with us. Now, I really hope you did get a moment today. But if not, I just want to say the day is not over. It's still Christmas. It's a special day, a time for reflection and giving, a day for the nation to come together and step away from the admin. For whatever reason, for the next 2 hours, you and I and our panellists and guests are here together. So let's make it a moment. What do you think, guys? I know that, sorry, we couldn't cut to them because they're crying. They were so emotional and overtaken with Christmas there. How are you? Thank you so much. I'm going to introduce you. Well, first we have broadcaster and TV personality Ingrid Tarrant. Hello, Ingrid.
Hello,
How are you?
hello,
Merry Christmas
Josh.
to you.
Same to you.
We have
Thank you.
trade unionist Andy McDonald. Hello,
hello.
Looking appropriately sombre for a trade unionist there. Very good. You've got the beard and everything. And we have political commentator Chloe Dobbs.
Hello, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Now, guys, we have some crackers here. We have Bucks Fizz. I haven't seen any Bucks Fizz for at least 20 years. Maybe that's what's missing. But
remember Harvey Wallbangers?
I do. I've still got a hangover from it. How has your Christmas been, Ingrid?
It's been, I have to say, it's been absolutely wonderful. I celebrate Christmas Eve because I'm not actually English. I'm a mix.
Oh,
I'm half
wow.
Norwegian, quarter French, quarter German. And it's celebrated on the 24th, like the royal family, actually.
Oh, really? So there
Yes.
we go. Yeah, is that why you do it as well? You're like, oh, yes, I want to watch
yes. But I do also celebrate Christmas Day in the traditional English way with the turkey. But the big occasion is the 24th, Christmas Eve.
Sure. And Andy, have you been celebrating Christmas Day? You've been with family?
No, I've been pretty much on my own. I went for a run around Regent's Park this morning, though, with the Christmas group, which was good fun, but...
Andy, that's the most depressing thing I've ever
I know,
heard.
it's been...
dog.
Yeah, and my dog.
It's
It's been very chill, in fairness. You know, me and
Okay.
Hayley have been hanging out, and, yeah, it's been a nice one, though.
That's a very nice thing. Chloe, what about yourself? What
I
have you been-
probably haven't slowed down as much as...
you would normally?
As much as you would like people to slow down on Christmas. I love getting up and getting active on Christmas.
Oh, really?
And I find there is some thrill in exercising when you know everyone is slacking on that day and laying in bed. I was up at 5:20 this morning, and then Christmas Day park run, absolutely wicked. Everyone running around in their Santa outfits. We even had marshals playing Christmas tunes on their trumpets as you were running around the corner. Then Christmas Day kayaking, but followed by a lot of food. I did eat back.
OK, because you're
all
making
of the calories
me
that
feel
I-
very
I
bad.
was
The two
actually
of you, look at these guys, they're up at the door and they're going for
I'm
runs.
exhausted just listening to this.
Oh, my gosh, wow, that's very good.
I did manage to survive through my Christmas dinner with a socialist without it leading to political warfare.
OK, that's pretty good.
So that is my win.
OK, that's
today.
it. So do you think that today is a day of peace to all mankind and womankind?
Yeah, it's a successful day. Normally, I find at the Christmas dinner table, even if we say at the start, right, no politics at the Christmas dinner table, after some people have a few drinks, it ends up in complete warfare by the end of it. So I've survived today without any
without an
political
argument.
I think
chaos.
you've missed out.
So that's a win.
Well, I do want to say you're here now. There's a possibility.
Yeah,
that we
let's
could
hope
get
I've been
so.
saving it for this year.
Exactly. I think you've slightly missed out though, because there's always going to be a little bit of an argument, don't you think? It's traditional. It's not right if you haven't got an argument. I don't like arguing, to be perfectly honest,
right.
but it just happens.
But it's one of those things. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
If there hasn't been some sort of family interloper or something mental that's come up, it's like, is it Christmas? If there wasn't a big shouting match at some point. How do you guys feel? Do you think Christmas has changed? Do you think the emphasis on Christmas has changed in this country at all? I mean, Andy, you're sort of nodding there.
I think, honestly, post-COVID, kind of. Because, you know, during the COVID lockdowns, a lot of people cooped up with their families. They were all together for, you know, a long period of time. And I think that kind of special, everyone comes together at Christmas, it's that almost exclusive part, apart from maybe birthdays, where all the family is around the table, enjoying themselves for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks. You know, I think that's kind of been lost over COVID.
Because we're all sick of each other, basically.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And even looking at, you know, kind of shops and going shopping for presents, everything's done online now. And we've lost some of that, some of the stuff that I certainly grew up with. I'm sure Chloe did as well. I mean, going out to the shops and going with your parents and your siblings, doing all that. Now you just sit on your laptop and you just go on Amazon. And
it's quite impersonal.
But I love Amazon. It's so convenient.
It's convenient, but it's impersonal.
So convenient.
It
For
is
us ADHD
impersonal.
lot that don't think about ordering presents until the day before, Amazon is an ADHD's best friend.
Well,
I'm
yeah, it
telling
is a
you.
bit of a godsend, I have to say. But I think it's impersonal, isn't it? It's too easy. I think part of the process is, I know you shouldn't have to suffer, but it's a kind of a pleasant suffering.
Yeah.
You know, you're putting yourself out, you're doing it for the people that you love, and it has, in my opinion, it has a bit more meaning.
So this is the version of it. Like, you have to be stuck in the high street. You have to be fighting for that robot in the toy
But
store.
I can buy them. I can be more personal with Amazon because I've got much more choice, and I can buy them exactly what they want. Whereas if I go to the shops, I have to end up leaving with some rubbish pair of socks.
But you
that
might
they're
come
not even
out
going
with
to care
something
about.
that you hadn't even thought of. You see,
That's
it's a little
true.
bit like online shopping.
But Amazon gives me random suggestions. They're great.
Oh, yeah. But with
I'm really bigging
food
up
shopping,
Bezos.
I mean, I do love doing food shopping online because it's so convenient and they pack it and they deliver it and that's that. You dispense with all of that. But when I do go into supermarkets and I've got my list of what I'm going to get, you can guarantee, and this is the point, like, I think we can all relate to this, that you come out with much more than what was on your original list. In fact, you might not even come out with anything that was on it. So that's why I think shopping for presents, you may not find what you're looking for, but you might find something else, actually, that's even better because you get inspired.
Yeah, and also it's slightly impersonal getting links from your kids. Like, this is what you want.
Yes,
oh, here it is, and this is the thing.
exactly.
But, I mean, we've talked a lot here about consumerism and buying food and buying presents and whatnot. I mean, it's such a cliche, but really, is that all that Christmas has come now? Is there a specialness?
Commercial, you mean?
Well, I mean, I know it's sort of said every year, but it felt more... Even as a kid, I know how excited I was getting the presents, and there was something else to it. It felt like there was something magical there.
It was symbolic.
It was symbolic, yes.
And now it's commercial, and I think it's competitive too.
Yeah?
I think there's a horrible lot of competitiveness going.
And what, do you think between people or between the companies trying to sell us stuff?
No, between people.
Oh,
and
OK.
it's sort of like, oh, my child got a better present than yours, or sort of, and then even the kids are kind of like, well, what did you get? Oh, really?
Well, I've got 5 kids, so could you imagine trying to get everybody to get everybody
but no,
equal?
This is amongst their friends, not amongst the family. Oh, I try to equalise it, sort of, with the thing. But even then,
I literally have to show my kids receipts. I'm just literally like, this is this is how much I've spent on you. It's to that level.
Yeah,
but it is cute. Do you think there's anything that we can do to make it less about the getting of stuff? I mean,
but that's part of it, isn't it? It's about it's giving the presents, so you can't remove that side of it.
Yeah.
But it's the psychological side of it, where it is a little bit competitive and it is a little bit sort of like, well, my friend got this, can I have the same too? Sort of like, you don't value me as much. And it's almost like the value of the person is put on the value of the money. Well, it isn't. It should be the thought that counts. It's the token. So I think it's gone a bit too far.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with you. It's just, but I guess there's this intangible element to the day. I mean, look, and here we are, we're all sort of here, sort of working, whatever, but I still feel like there's something more that we could do, that something needs to be... I just wonder if we've become a little bit too cynical as a nation.
And selfish. You know, a few years ago, my daughter and I, we were on our own because all the others had disappeared to their in-laws and outlaws and you know what. Yeah. And it was just one of I've got 4 children, not quite as many as you.
I win.
Yeah, you win. And so we went to help in a pub that opens up every year, and they serve food to the people that came there, either for company or whatever it was. And that was really, really nice because you were giving and not receiving, and that it's a really good feeling.
Well, I think the closest I've come to a sort of Christmas magical moment today was when I was driving here. And I was coming down quite a tight road, and then someone gave way.
Really? Does that not normally happen?
Not normally happen around here. And sort of gave a big sort of thumbs up and a smile. And I was like, that's the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah,
is someone
tomorrow
it's going to be like, what are you doing? Get me through here.
Honk.
Whatever. It is.
Yeah, I guess I think one of the main things that we associate Christmas with is appreciating other people doing kind things for us. And often we get wrapped up in thinking that's just about giving physical presents, when it's not. It is kind gestures. Like that. It's that Christmas spirit. Also, I think one thing that we can do to take the emphasis of presents and the new iPad you're getting is make sure that you have other things to look forward to on Christmas Day other than the presents. So, I mean, in my family, the Christmas family games is like the highlight of the day.
Yes.
And our family, there's something in our genes. We are so competitive. And everyone looks forward to that so much, ripping each other apart in the family Christmas quiz. That is what I love about Christmas.
Yeah, I do too.
So
it's after the charades.
Make it more
sorry,
about
we still
just
do
the
charades.
iPad. I think also, maybe one reason why we're losing a bit of the magic of Christmas is that I do think that kids are a little bit more entitled and unappreciative these days. As you say, they're very competitive. And, they'll whine and cry of, you didn't get me the latest generation iPad, you got me the one before that. And rather than actually just appreciating the thought and the effort, not all parents have the same amount of money.
No.
You will always have a friend who got something fancier, who got more money in their Christmas card. And I feel like sometimes, in a lot of aspects, kids are a lot less grateful these days, I feel like. That's
I think next year what we should try as a nation is just not give any presents to children at all.
Yeah, wouldn't that be brilliant? Just to show that to the adults.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
can,
And then
we can
play
live it
them
later
sort
on
of
in
Monopoly
life.
and destroy them. And just break them down, and maybe we'll get back some of it. Maybe
I would
then
love to
they'll
be a fly on the wall when you exercise that at home.
Yes, no, I don't think that's what I'm warning you now, kids. If you're watching, expect nothing.
I actually saw this brilliant sort of life hack yesterday on Instagram where it said that what parents should do is wrap up a bunch of fake presents, so just cardboard boxes, and put Christmas wrapping on them, put them under the tree, and then every time your kid misbehaves, pick one up and put it into the fire to train their behaviour.
I think I saw someone do something like that, and the kid was crying, and no, that is far.
That's a bit far.
That's a bit far.
Have you seen that video from a few years ago of that kid where the dad says you're on the naughty lid, and the kid says, no, Santa says I'm on the naughty list, I'll give him an uppercut.
The thing is, I'm still traumatised by that video.
I think it's brilliant. To be honest, I was like that as a kid. I was so sassy. I was like, no one's going to tell me what to do. No one's going to tell me I'm on the naughty list.
And here you are
I'd
now.
have said the same.
You're ready to have some Bucks Fizz. Well, very good. We're going to find out, by the way, we're trying to identify what some of these particular treats are.
That middle one was a mince pie thing.
It looks like it's like a mince crumble rather than a pie crumble.
Well, I think I've identified pudding, stollen.
Stollen, getting
I don't
stuffed
know.
and getting drunk. That is Christmas. Let's get down to that kind of magic. Right, coming up soon, we have HRH Angela Levin, who will be joining us for a special Christmas Royal Roundup. But next up, it's the big story. Will 2024 be the end of the Tories? Charlie Rowley will be joining me after the break.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. It's time now for the big story. As Rishi Sunak faces a general election nightmare, with Reform UK warning a few days ago that it will stand in every seat against Tory MPs for the first time, so will the next year be the end of the Tory party as we know it? Joining me now to discuss this is former Special Advisor to Michael Gove, Charlie Rowley. Hello, Charlie. Merry Christmas.
Hi, Merry Christmas to you too.
So first of all, how do you think 2023 was for Rishi Sunak?
Well, it was a year that I think he set out, as you might remember, in January, 5 priorities, 3 on the economy, growing the economy, reducing debt, halving inflation, and then there was one on the NHS, which was reducing waiting times, and the final one, which seems to have dominated 2023, which was stopping the boats. Now, I think a couple of those, he would argue, have been achieved. Inflation is down. Small boat crossings are down by 1/3. But I think, what was set out in 2023 in January was something that I think a few people laughed at, as if that was going to be 5 easy wins for him. It's turned out to be a lot more difficult than what I think he probably thought, and lots of the commentariat thought. So going into 2024, he's obviously got to present the immigration bill again for third reading, which was slightly difficult just before the recess of Parliament. So we've got to have a huge debate within the Conservative Party about those proposals, the immigration proposals, to stopping illegal migration. And going into 2024, he's going to have to deliver on all of those other priorities. So it's been a tough 2023. It's going to be no let-up in 2024, but you hope at this particularly festive time, a time of forgiveness, that it might just be, and reflection, it might just be a time where Conservative MPs and Conservative activists can all sort of take stock and go into 2024 fully and squarely behind the Prime Minister to go into an election year full of beans.
I think you're asking for a lot of Christmas goodwill there. I mean, the word that people seem to be saying is, electoral wipeout. I mean, is there realistically any way that he can really claw back from the polls? I mean, Labour just seems so far ahead at this point.
They do, and look, it looks as though Sir Keir Starmer is actually enjoying the job, I think, a bit more. He's come from a very difficult position as being leader of the opposition, post-Corbyn, getting the party electorally ready. They don't seem to be putting too many feet wrong, if I can put it like that. I think the problems that the Conservatives have is that it is just own goals on the Conservative Party side, too much division, too much open debate in public, not behind closed doors, to resolve those policy issues within the Conservative Party. So I think that's where the problem lies. The only, I think, saving grace at this moment for the Conservatives, and one that really is a real and prominent factor, is that when you ask people about the Labour Party, and when you ask people about Sir Keir Starmer, people are still not convinced. They're still not sure what the Labour Party's policies are. They're not quite sure what they'll do on tax and spending. They're not quite sure actually how they will manage the economy, just when it seems to be getting better under the Conservatives. So I think when it comes to a general election, and you have to really focus the public's minds, the public who, rightly so, are absolutely turned off by politics at the minute, and I can't blame them for it at all after everything that's happened this year. But when they have to focus their minds on the real politics, the general election that is coming, and when there will be hopefully a whole set of policies by both parties when it comes to the economy, schools, hospitals, the cost of living, levelling up again, I think there'll be a real choice between the Conservative Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, who's been the Chancellor, who's well known to the people of this country for all of the things that he's done over time in office, versus Sir Keir Starmer and a Labour Party who the public still don't quite know enough about, who have made a few U-turns on their own policies, and there's still a big question mark about Sir Keir Starmer himself. So there will be a big question for the public, and I think that's when you'll see the polls narrow, and we'll just have to wait and see how far they narrow by the time a general election's called and thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, do you think, saying that Rishi Sunak can't turn it around, do you think that the best option for the Tories is Kemi Badenoch? What do you think that she could do? Do you think, for me, I think that not voting her as leader was the biggest mistake the Tories made in the last year or so. Could she have turned it around, do you think?
Well, I know Kemi, and I like Kemi a lot. I think during the last leadership election, because it was her first time running, she was still quite new, I think, to the Conservative MPs and the Conservative Party more broadly. But she's certainly someone who says what she thinks, and she doesn't mix her words. And I think that's refreshing in politics. I think changing leader now for anybody, whether it's for Kemi Badenoch, whether it's for Penny Mordaunt, whether it's for Boris Johnson, whether it's for Nigel Farage. I think the public wouldn't forgive the Conservative Party again chopping and changing its leader, having got rid of or a Brexit vote that saw the departure of David Cameron, who remember back in 2016, getting rid of Theresa May because the Brexit deal wasn't quite something that anybody could agree on. And Boris Johnson, obviously, as we know, through COVID, then ditching Liz Truss after 49 days. I think another Prime Minister, another Conservative Prime Minister, not elected by the public, between now and another general election, when there's only months to go, I think would be something that the public wouldn't forgive you for, whoever was the leader of the Conservative Party.
So I think reminded me of sort of a Christmas Carol, the sort of 12. It was a sort of list of 12 to 11. Yeah. Now, of course, we have the Reform UK announcing they're going to be standing. Is that seems like it's got to be a big threat to Tory votes, taking them away? Is it?
Yes, I think at the moment. I think you're absolutely right. I think at the moment it is, and the polls suggest that, because in particular areas where, for the Conservative Party to win an overall majority again, it has an 80-seat majority, so it's got a good start. But to hold on to those seats, you've got to hold on to the red wall seats, so where those constituencies voted Conservative for the very first time because Labour had left them behind, effectively. So they voted for change, they voted for Boris Johnson, they voted for Brexit, they voted for levelling up, as I say, those communities that they felt had been left behind after years of voting Labour. If they feel as though they can't vote for the Conservative Party, and they feel as though that they don't still understand the Labour Party, if the Labour Party want to take the UK back into the EU, which is not something those red wall constituencies voted for or want, then of course they'll seek out an alternative, and that seems to be the Reform Party filling that void. What the Conservative Party has to do is try and balance the levelling up agenda, investing in those communities, while delivering on issues that are important to the red wall seats, as it is right across the country, such as immigration, which is why there's been so much focus on the migration bill. But it's also got to cater to the south and the southeast of England, the more liberal Conservative view, where the Conservatives may be losing support to the Liberal Democrats, for example, places like Surrey in Hertfordshire, and in the southwest in Somerset, and in Tiverton, and the southwest more broadly. So there's a balancing act for the Conservative Party to do to maintain its support in all of those constituencies, but where it doesn't deliver and deliver well on those priorities, then that's when you let other parties in. And that's why I think it's very important to make sure that at the next general election, if you think about voting for the Reform Party because you're upset with the Conservatives, then you will end up effectively letting Labour in through the back door, because if you split the Conservative vote and you let Labour in, then of course they won't do, or they haven't got a plan on immigration. We don't know their plan on the economy for tax and spend. Those constituencies that left Labour in 2019, who really don't want them back, will end up with Labour MPs, and that would be bad for those constituencies. So it'll be a very, very clear message at the next general election. There can only be two people that can become Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak or Sir Keir Starmer. A vote for any other party will be a vote for the Labour Party, and that will be something that I think the Conservatives will want to remind people in those red wall seats and across the country.
Well, time is certainly running out for things to change. I suspect that Labour is actually just going to be walking through the front door. But thank you very much for joining us, Charlie. And it seems like you seem particularly sober. So if you have been holding back from drinking, so now you can actually start drinking now your TV thing is done. There it is. Very good. Oh, well, you just happen to. You're like Winston Churchill. You can function on any amount of alcohol. Very good.
I've been waiting for this all day, so thank you very much.
Well, enjoy it. You deserve it. That was Charlie Rowley, and thank you so much, former Special Advisor to Michael Gove. Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining us, mate. Right, coming up is the one and only Angela Levin for her Royal Roundup. It's time for an Xmas Royal Roundup with HRH Angela Levin. Is she there?
Wake up to the headlines with headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train.
Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on the Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It is time for our Xmas Royal Roundup with HRH. Angela Levin, hello. Merry Christmas.
And the HRH, can I keep it?
Yes, that is legally bound now.
Wow,
put it on
thank
all
you.
of the letters, put on the letterheads, it's totally fine.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank
Have you had a nice Christmas
Yeah,
day?
I'm fine, yes, I'm fine.
You
Yes.
have a big meal?
No, I
No.
don't do any
Prim,
of that,
proper
really.
nothing?
No, I just had some family around and it was just really relaxed and fun and just very nice.
That's lovely. So
Yes.
obviously we're here now.
Low key, but very, very comfortable for a family. Yes.
That sounds like the dream thing. Talk to me about, let's talk about the King's Speech. That's obviously one of the big events of the day, such as it is. Did it impress you? What do you think about it?
Well, it was very interesting, actually. I left at the end, I was feeling quite sorry for him. I thought that he was trying really hard not to upset anyone, not to put a foot wrong. So we didn't see photographs because he was standing by his tree, which was actually going to be replanted.
Yes.
And that there weren't any photographs so that nobody... When the Queen put up some of the family and Harry and Meghan weren't included, they made a huge fuss, so we didn't get that at all. And I think also that he was trying to talk to every faith. He was saying, you know, it applies to every faith and to people with no faith. He was really trying to be accepted. I thought he was a little sad. And I felt he didn't need to be sad because so many people do like him. The fact that he's got a couple in his family who don't, but he does very well. And I thought it was very nice that we saw the photograph of Camilla, we saw William and Catherine with their 3 delicious children, and we saw the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, and all those people were shown with photographs. He didn't say a word about them. He just said he very much appreciated people helping and doing things and saving people, and that he didn't have to show any pictures of Harry and Meghan. And I thought he did say, though, that he took this from the Bible, that, you know, don't do unto others as you would have done to yourself. And I thought that was a very good hint that maybe Harry might pick up.
Do you think Harry was watching?
I'm sure he was watching, because I think that they look now for the slightest error so they can pounce.
Oh, really?
I think it's that way now. And he would see, you know, were they included? Was there a picture of them? And I imagine that they would see it very much to see if they can make some sort of fuss about it now.
You mentioned that King Charles' speech, you felt it was quite broad, maybe.
Very broad.
I mean, is that... this whole thing, is it necessary for him to try and appeal to everybody?
Well, I think it's too difficult. You can't do that, actually.
You're never going to make everyone happy.
No, you never are. But, well, you might make them a bit pleased, but not actually really happy. I think he wanted to take it at low degrees and show that he is open to everyone. But he was saying about climate change and things. It's very important to think about the earth for our children's children. And following that, there was a primary school who sang a nice hymn. I thought those sort of things were very touching and had a strong point. But he didn't go zooming. The Queen used to sort of have quite cunning ways of telling people off. And I think this year he didn't want to at all. He wants to go through it and be calm. And I think it will be a happier occasion, or it has been a happier occasion, because last year was so close, 2 months, 3 months to the Queen's passing, and so now they can actually enjoy things. Last year would have been very miserable and quiet and solemn, but this year it can be much fun.
So you think he's sort of warming to the role a little bit?
And I think very much, quite a lot, actually. Wherever they go, there's a lot of popularity now. And you saw actually before in the Christmas, when they went to the Christmas at the church, the service, and people were calling and shouting and being very, very positive there.
So which royals did appear today?
Well, it was very interesting. I didn't say... what was odd was that the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh and Louise...
Footage of them there.
Yes, and Princess Anne all wore the same scarf.
OK.
And I thought... Somebody's given everybody a scarf. I thought
that's very funny.
I thought it's very odd.
They might have got like a 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Special offer.
Yeah, Marks and Spencer.
Buy 2 and you get 2 free. Yes, I thought it was lovely and it was very happy. And he was very smiling and the Queen was smiling, and that, well, Andrew was there, which was
Prince,
quite
I can
interesting.
see him there. Is that? Do you think is that a silent form of forgiveness from the king?
Well, it is actually, because I thought that he wouldn't be there because they would be worried in case people would start shouting at him.
The church gets very sweaty, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I think that people were arriving at 4 a.m. today, and it was really crowded. So there you see that they want to see the royal family. They wanted to see the king. And yes, and also Fergie, Andrew's wife, she was there, and she was walking to church with the royal family for the first time in 30 years, which is a very long time.
His ex-wife, yeah. I mean, I think people are actually very fond of her.
Yeah,
she's a survivor.
She is a survivor, and she's rather exotic in her ways, and I think that the Queen liked her very much, but Prince Philip absolutely disliked her. So for 22 years, she wasn't allowed to come to any of the Sandringham Christmas. But last year, Camilla said, no, she must come, and so she did. She's very forgiving. She's not a grudge-bearing person. And I thought that little Louis was having very good-tempered. He had his father's hand, and on the other side he'd had Mia, who is 9, who is Zara's eldest daughter, and she was chatting away to him, and he was having a very nice time. Then Mia was chatting away to Princess Charlotte, and I thought it was very natural. It wasn't sort of them all walking to church upright, not saying anything in a nice
You
line.
can sort of see them walking there, and they just seem like a family.
Yes.
Just happen to have a couple of thousand people watching on, deconstructing, decoding every single movie.
Yes, and I thought that was very nice. And also I spotted that Beatrice's husband was talking to her as they were walking along, and he looked at her with such a loving face. You know, he was really, you could see how much he cared for her, and I think that was lovely, because she's had a hard time, Beatrice, and to find somebody and got married, and she does look after his little son from another relationship, and they have their own. But I thought that was very nice and very warm, and I think that the royal family are really coming back together, actually, and making the most of it, which is why I was quite surprised that King Charles made his own speech a little low and quiet, very
maybe
careful.
he just doesn't want to be too pushy with it or whatever.
I'm sure that's right.
And I mean, you speaking about the royal family coming back together, of course, there's a couple of people who weren't there.
Yes.
Do you think that they and their children will come back into the fold, certainly around Christmas?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, William would go mad because they've been so horrible about him. But more than that, they've been horrible about Princess Catherine. And William really wants to protect her. And I think a lot of people who really care about their partner can cope with things for themselves, but find it much more upsetting if it's done to their partner. And I think that, you know, he's furious. And he's been beyond ghastly, you know, lots of lies in there that aren't even true. But on the other hand, you know, King Charles is a father. He loves Harry, but he doesn't like what he's doing. That's what it is. And I think lots of people know that that's quite difficult.
I guess.
But they don't actually blurb it all over the world in a nasty manner and bring out books about it.
Well, that's it.
Takes it too far.
Christmas is a time of forgiveness, but you have to ask for forgiveness. And I guess, and I guess we're not at that point yet.
No.
But we'll see if it is. I mean, do you think the monarchy seems to be in a safe pair of hands with King Charles?
I think it is in a good pair of hands. And also, I've been asked by a lot of different countries to talk about them, and they're so interested. And all of them, they really like the royal family, the English royal family. And it is the most popular royal family in the world. And I think that's right. And that's why it's wrong that Harry and Meghan can keep trying to bring us down to the ground and say we're out of date, we're old-fashioned. Not us, the royal family is out of date and old-fashioned. And I don't think they are. I think Charles is very modern, actually. He came across things years before anyone else did, like climate change and plastic and all those things, and proper eating. And I think that that's been their mistake, and they do like us, and that's very important.
And King Charles is setting up William to take things forward as well into the
Yes,
future.
and he and William agree on a lot now, so they can work together, and I think that would be marvellous. And the family is very appealing. You know, William's so handsome and so serious now about what he's doing. Catherine, who doesn't put a foot wrong and is doing this thing about young children, which is very important. You know, if children get a stable family and a loving one, then they are much more inclined to have a decent future.
I'm just looking forward to having a bald king. That's what I think. I think it's going to change everything for me at that point. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to let you get back to your family now.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us on Christmas. Merry
Pleasure.
Christmas.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. That was Royal biographer HRH. We're going to add it forever now. Angela Levin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Coming up, my Christmas critique. I'll be discussing the world leaders' messages to us this Christmas. Have they hit the right notes or left us with a load of bum tones? See you in 2.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Wake up to the headlines with headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you,
GB News.
Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, Josh Howie, on your Christmas Day evening. I'm joined by my Christmas panel. We have broadcaster and TV personality Ingrid Tarrant, trade unionist Andy MacDonald, and political commentator Chloe Dobbs. Now, for many of us, getting into the Christmas spirit means exactly that. Drink as much as we like. And whether it's a mouthful of mulled wine with mince pies or a drop of your best Pinot Noir with the turkey, if your child asks for a sip, what's the harm? It's Christmas after all. Now, according to a study by the UCL Institute of Education, 17% of British parents have let their children drink alcohol by the age of 14. Should you really let your young teens have a festive drink? What are we thinking? Now, we've got one parent. I'm assuming you guys, you parents, you might not know if you are parents.
Not to my knowledge.
Yet or not.
I suppose, did your parents say, I'm all for that. My children were younger than 14.
Oh, really? OK, well, they were like 6. This is the only way to get them to be quiet.
Younger. Do you know, yes, has passed out.
Yeah.
We were brought up, my siblings and I were brought up drinking wine.
OK, like
from a very young age, like in France and Germany.
Yeah.
So this was the thing, diluted with water. And do you know, none of us have a problem with drink. We've got a really healthy relationship with drink.
Just heroin.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah. I know, it went the other way. But, no, it was just, you know, enjoy it, don't abuse it, and that's absolutely fine. So I did exactly the same with my children. And none of them have a dependency. I mean, one of them gets completely stupid, but, you know, it's just like it's after a football match when most people do. So I actually really don't have a problem. So I'm one of the 17%. And if you... Do you know...
Here you are.
It's forbidden
We're talking about alcohol.
We've got to pass it down. Yeah, we have. I'll pass it down.
Pass it through.
Let's give some alcohol to children right now.
Yes,
Not saying that you guys are too young.
Yes.
No, you're adults.
15.
You're adults. Yes, making me feel very old.
It's forbidden fruits. If you say no...
See, that's the thing is, my parents allowed me, actually from a pretty young age as well, to try. They said, you want to try a bit of wine at the table? That was fine. Yeah. So it wasn't a forbidden fruit. And I actually I tried it and I was like, actually, I don't really like it that much. So I never really got into drinking. But I see a lot of kids who, they don't drink, you know, they're not allowed to drink up until they're 18 and then they go crazy at university.
Exactly.
And I know that a lot of nightclubs are really struggling with freshers who didn't party and drink as teenagers because of COVID, because of lockdowns, who have no idea how to handle their drink as freshers. They've come into university with no drinking experience, and you know they're just a complete mess. They're all in ambulances off to A&E. It's just a complete nightmare. So I think there's
as a social function.
For those that do want to drink, it's better to start them in an environment where your parents are there, and if you do have one too many, you know, you've got help, you've got people to tell you when you've had a few too many. If you just wait until they're off at university, there are no parents there watching, I think that's a lot riskier.
Yes, I agree with you.
When I was young, you know, I'd have a sip of beer or a sip of red wine. I just hate it. Because when you're young, it's so bitter, it's so sour, it's like
that was
disgusting. So when you're young, I think up until about 13 or 14, I didn't like the taste of alcohol, and I'd only have a little bit. And you know, the big debate was, do I put it back in the cup or do I put it in the sink or do I swallow it? You know, and man up through it. But I think a glass here and there is healthy. You know, at Christmas time when you're 14 onwards, because what school year is that? Is that year 10, year 9? You know, you're going on taking your exams that will dictate the rest of your life. So might as well have a bit of taste of life whilst you're there. But I think younger than 14, that's a bit.
A bit on the nose. Ingrid,
No, I disagree.
Well, I think it is. It's a bit on the nose.
It hasn't done any harm to me at all.
I couldn't comment.
No, or perhaps it has, and I'm just in denial.
No, I think it's. I've got to be honest. I'm a little bit convinced, and certainly this argument of doing it in a safe way with your kids, because you're absolutely right. When you go off to uni and suddenly the world is open to you, it's like if you're not prepared for that, and that's I hadn't been aware of that at all. Of course. Yeah, no, I like the idea of it.
So it's having a healthy respect and a good relationship with it, and I just think...
I've got to be honest, my parents did drugs around me.
Oh, did they? Did they really? What, spliffs and all the rest of it?
All of it, and it actually had the opposite effect on me, because I've never had a cigarette, I've never done any of that.
But it could have gone one way or another.
It could go the other way. Let's not talk about my sister.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, coming up, comedian Tobias Pearson. He joins us live from snowy Stockholm. But next, my Christmas critique discussing the world leaders. Have they hit the right note? See you in 2.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather. We've had quite a wet Christmas day, but the good news is that rain is clearing, and for Boxing Day it'll be much drier and brighter as this brief ridge of high pressure starts to build in. However, it doesn't last long before further weather systems move in as we head into Wednesday. So this evening time, rain still clearing the far southeast. Some showery rain for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England for a time. But for the vast majority overnight, it's dry with clear spells. Some wintry showers continue across northern parts of Scotland. Some icy stretches here. Elsewhere, temperatures lower than they have been of late, but still fairly mild across southern counties of England and Wales. So it means a bright start to Boxing Day, plenty of sunny spells, a chilly start, icy stretches slowly melting away across parts of Scotland, and then for most a dry, bright day, plenty of hazy sunshine though, the cloud thickening from the southwest through into the afternoon, outbreaks of rain developing here. A fresher day for everyone, temperatures nearer to average 4 to 7 Celsius, mild air returning across the southwest. Then it's very unsettled on Wednesday. Outbreaks of heavy rain, strong winds push across the country, snow across the Scottish hills too, and temperatures remain well above average for the time of year. Some of that rain will be heavy at times, and it stays unsettled through Thursday and Friday. Further showery rain in places and temperatures above average.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So, send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
It's 10 o'clock, it is Christmas. Coming up tonight on your Christmas Day evening with me, Josh Howie, I'm going to be sharing with you my Christmas critique of the world leaders' Christmas messages. Comedian Tobias Pearson will be joining me later to bring some festive cheer from Stockholm, and we'll have the papers straight hot off the press at 10:30 p.m. And my fabulous festive panel are back. We have Ingrid Tarrant, Andy MacDonald and Chloe Dobbs. They really do not like that Bucks Fizz. They'll be nominating their greatest Britons and Union jackasses. It's a packed hour. First, we have Josh's judgment at 10. Lots to... We've also got lots of stings and lots to come in the next hour. What do you think? Email me now, gbviews@gbnews.com. See you after the headlines.
Thanks, Josh. I'm Ray Addison in the GB newsroom. Our top stories this hour. Labour is considering plans to process asylum seekers' claims overseas, according to a report in the Times newspaper. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper and Shadow Immigration Minister Stephen Kinnock have reportedly been speaking to asylum experts to draw up an alternative way to stop migrants crossing the Channel in small boats. The plan would see asylum seekers have their claims processed in a second country, with successful applicants allowed to come to the UK. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer has previously dismissed the government's Rwanda scheme as a gimmick. Conservative MP Mike Freer, whose constituency office was the target of a suspected arson attack, has told GB News that his office remains a crime scene as police continue to investigate. Fire crews were called to the building in North London on Christmas Eve after it was partially damaged by the blaze. The MP told us police are examining CCTV footage and he does not yet know when his office will be released back to him. No one was in the building at the time of the incident. The King used his Christmas address today to focus on and give thanks to the nation's volunteers. Describing them as a selfless army, His Majesty said they are the essential backbone of our society. He thanked the hundreds of volunteers who attended his coronation in Westminster Abbey earlier on this year and said that their presence is a call to all of us to love and care for all.
On this Christmas Day, my heart and my thanks go to all who are serving one another, all who are caring for our common home, and all who see and seek the good of others, not least the friend we do not yet know. In this way, we bring out the best in ourselves.
A 16-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman was stabbed in South London. Officers were called to a home in Bermondsey just after 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve. They treated a 22-year-old for stab wounds, but she died at the scene. GB News understands that the boy was known to the victim. He remains in custody. Thousands of people across the country made the most of today's unseasonably mild weather by taking an early morning festive dip. Swimmers in Birmingham braved the waters in hats and costumes at Sutton Park's Blackroot Pool, and members of the Serpentine Swimming Club took part in their annual Peter Pan Cup in Hyde Park. The race has been held every year since 1864. This is GB News across the UK on television, in your car, on digital radio and on your smart speaker by saying, play GB News. Now let's get straight back to Josh.
Thank you very much, Ray. Now, the one thing that never stops for anyone, let alone Jesus, is politics. In fact, Christmas is the perfect time with a captive audience to spread your message of goodwill and traditional values so you can win votes. Tomorrow and today, we have seen yesterday also some corkers, and we had them from the world leaders and wannabe leaders. But what are they really trying to say? Now, Biden, he kept it simple with a traditional image and message. There it is. From our family to yours, Merry Christmas, America. Wow. So now, if this is from all of his family, including Hunter, then we can't 100% be sure if the white stuff on the tree was definitely snow. There was also some interesting grammar usage, a colon for emphasis there. Biden is being very clear, especially with the comma, about who he's addressing. It's America. He is telling them, you're my priority. I only want you to have a Merry Christmas, America. Darn the rest of the world. I love America. America first. OK, so Biden, he's got a long way to go if he wants to top Trump. We have Trump ramping it up, though. He's no apologies, no excuses, no hiding. He just put out a straight-up campaign video. You've got to respect that. But he must be having a pretty boring Christmas because he's been on his Truth Social site all day and he's put that caps lock on and he has let rip there. They spied on my campaign. They lied to Congress, cheated, FISA, rigged election, allowed millions of people, mental prisoners, and invade our country. Joe Biden's misfits drugs. And there we go. And finally, at the end, Merry Christmas. So now I got to be honest, I've kind of inspired by that. I think that's how I'm going to write all of my Christmas cards from now on. I certainly agree on the Afghanistan tragedy, but the rest isn't exactly "Oh, rest ye gentle, merry men." Close to home, we have Macron wishing everyone in France a Merry Christmas, which he doesn't always do, actually, you know, for this famously secular state. He's done this year, and I think that might be a nod to embracing the majority's shared religious history. But he also made sure to later chuck in a Gaza reference to not offend another chunk of his population. The main thing is, as we can see, I don't know if we have it, but there it is. He has got a photo of a very, very big Christmas tree. Now, that feels to me like he's possibly overcompensating. And at home, we have Keir Starmer. Now, for me, he's pulled a blind. There he is there. And I'm not just talking about the wife. Traditional Christmas drink with neighbours in the local. Happy Christmas to one and all. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's leave this photo up for a second, if you don't mind. Sorry. First of all, I apologise. We have the double denim. I don't know if anybody noticed the double denim. And there it is. And actually, it's triple denim with his wife. Now, it's a brave fashion choice. Is he telling us that he's a maverick and he's got a pint? He's saying, I'm one of you. I'm Keir Starmer and I like a pint. And I think, is it bitter even? He's a man of the people. But wait a sec. He's got it in one of those posh pint glasses. He's telling the upper middle classes they're a safe pair of hands with him, like that pint, like his gigantic safe hands. My favourite bit, though, is that he looks a bit squiffy. Now, that is really what you want from your leader on a Christmas. You want a totally smashed out, passed out on a massive Christmas lunch. We want another Winston Churchill, which is the furthest thing that we got from Rishi. Now, watch this.
Am I the only one here?
I don't even know where to begin. There was actually another 30 seconds, but I just wanted to save you guys. It is Christmas after all. Now, I understand that it's an homage to Love Actually, and he's showing us that he's a regular guy. And he's even going to work Christmas for us. But there's a lot of cringe to unpack there. There's the nod, of course, to his cocaine gaffe. But at the same time, he's wasting a lot of cans of Coke there. They're going to be too fizzy to use now. It invokes government wastage. Or he's just showing us that he's too rich. And do you see where even Larry the cat jerks away from him? The only redeemable element is that he watches Elf. But is that enough to win your vote? Let's go to our panellists now. What do you think, guys? Who won out of all that lot?
Oh,
you're still cringing. They don't even know what to think.
Trump is the most exciting there.
Trump, he likes a caps lock.
I think if you look at Keir Starmer's tweet, you know, of course, trade unionists going straight to Starmer. I think, you know, you can actually see in his facial expression that would have been one of a burst of photos. You know, it's quite natural, actually. You know, not this full photography done, hasn't got the professionals in, not in a suit and tie doing this message like Rishi did.
But he's clearly parading around at the moment, trying to look like a normal man, and everyone's becoming.
He's quite a normal bloke.
Did you see the photo of him flying Ryanair the other day?
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm on Ryanair. I'm a normal, regular, working class guy.
Well, he didn't post that, in fairness. Someone else took the photo of him, so he is.
Rishi's attempts to look normal really fail a lot more than Keir Starmer's. It just always ends up in a load of memes every time Rishi tries to make a video that makes him look normal.
I know.
It never goes well for him at all. Just accept it.
I just one of you guys in number 10 just sort of playing cricket. Whatever. It's definitely. I kind of feel sorry for him. Maybe that was the plan.
It's desperate. Yeah, maybe no.
Also, Rishi's video really looks like he's been sponsored by Coca-Cola for this. It looks really dodgy.
There's some product placement going on there.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe he's trying
that's
to?
not allowed, right?
He might be trying to get that American trade deal going through. It's like, guys, come on! I've got American products.
It won't work.
I know. He really should have had some. He should have appealed to the Scottish audience.
He is completely selling his soul. If that is what the underlying message is.
I know. And do you think that they should just cut back and just keep it simple? I mean, Biden kind of did it pretty simple there. Here's a picture and just Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, but even that was just... I just think he's such a bland man, and yes, maybe it was kind of quite neutral. But I don't know. I just think you're falling into a trap each and every time. But the Star one, I didn't like because I didn't at all. Like yours was saying, I think it's been really worked to look completely relaxed, and it's like the tension of the relaxed, and then the pint is just like saying, I'm in touch with the common man, and then Vicky with her champagne glass, and so you didn't mention that, and to me that kind of is almost like I'm balanced. So it's kind of the socialist, but with the capitalist. Between us coming together.
Isn't that what we want?
Yeah, I think that's ideal. Someone who's in touch with all of our society. I think that's
ideal. That's the message. The way that was.
And do you think? I mean, are we being too cynical here?
Completely we are. I love it.
Not a doubt.
Don't you?
No, I mean, or do you think there really is this team of 20 people around them?
No, I really do think there is.
No, I'm sure there is, but some people might just think, guys, come on, they're just taking a photo and saying Merry Christmas.
It's not that deep. I think he's just got his son or whomever. Quick photo of mum and dad on Twitter.
I think they've spent an awful lot of money and somebody's had to do that. Or a psychologist has been in the background and then the son's taken the picture of what the psychologist reckons the setup should be.
But if there is a psychologist, why would they go with the double denim?
That is true.
That is true. Surely no one may... Or is that just, do you think, a double
It's ironed.
It is ironed denim.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, this is
You don't want it to look too polished.
I know, it's very... Yeah, and he's in his local... But also it says he's with his neighbours. It doesn't say I'm with my mates or my friends. It's like...
It's not on a lad's night out getting smashed.
Yeah, he's like, we went to... There it is there, we got it up.
Oh, let's have a look again.
I think he also looks a bit drunk. I got to be honest, he definitely looks... He looks a bit slurry.
And hang
he's
on.
happy to be here.
Also,
he's happy to be here. It's Christmas Day, guys.
The other thing is, he's smaller than his wife, isn't he?
Oh, you think so? Well, I mean, Rishi obviously isn't going to get away with it.
Well, he's in the picture as well, but you just can't see him.
You think he's standing on top of him or something? Yeah. I don't know. I think that's a pretty decent effort of making him look like a human being.
I think it's failed miserably.
I'm surprised that we didn't include the Argentinian president's...
Oh, well, you know what? That was almost too mental.
He brandished a cane. He was looking up at the camera, brandishing a cane, and and he threatened his Twitter viewers with, don't turn into a communist with his...
This is the thing, we couldn't 100% verify it because, believe it or not, we actually do want to make sure that we are giving you actual news. Yeah. So it was from a support account. But is it? Yeah, so we're not 100% sure. There it is there. I mean, that is quite terrifying.
What a tweet. That wins it. It's a shame that's not the real president.
That's what it says. For anybody who doesn't speak Spanish... saving the world from communism. I hope they speak Spanish in Argentina. I'm going to look pretty stupid there, which is not the first time. But yeah, he looks like he's in a sort of 1980s British gangster movie.
Yeah, he does a little bit. Or he's just heard something downstairs and he's gone downstairs with the bat under the bed.
Oh, that's what he is. You think, someone just told me he's the bear Jew from the Inglourious Basterds. I should say that is a real thing. From the Tarantino movie, he's got the bat. He's taking down the fascists.
He's got the hair.
He looks hardcore.
He looks cool.
Yeah, I know. I think that
finished his shift with
this could start. I wonder if he's going to inspire Trump because it does look like Trump's going to be. I'm not going to be outdone with my physical masculinity.
Barrel shotgun.
Yeah, no, that is it's very good. But I think I feel like I respect the fact they put in some effort. I think Macron just sort of going, here's a Christmas tree that happened to be outside.
It was wonky, by the way.
Great Christmas tree.
I feel like the Joe Biden one is the worst because he hasn't even taken a photo himself. It's literally like he's just gone off Vistaprint and taken just a standard Christmas card. And
there it is. There, yeah.
Yeah. There is nothing unique about that.
You're buying that in the supermarket. You're getting 10 for £1 from Pound.
Yeah, it's just some random Christmas card. There's nothing special about this. It just shows how dead and boring Sleepy Joe is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's it. To be honest, he might not have been conscious. When it came time to take the photo, they were like, let's just stick out a photo. Let's just put
Sleepy
this card
Joe
out.
Was asleep when this went out.
He could be. You know what? I was looking at this earlier and really trying to sort of get behind what is the message that they're putting out here. And the most I got is that they have trains that run.
I think the big debate, do you have a Christmas tree stand or not? Because that's on like a little box there. Is that hyper-realistic? Is that
I think we're overanalyzing.
You think? Yeah.
Is that an American thing? Do they have Christmas tree stands? Yeah, the grandstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And also, it's the opposite of King Charles's thing, where he's got the roots out.
Yeah.
He's saying, "Look, guys, I've got this tree out. I took it out for an hour. I'm going to put it back." But in America, they're like, we're not just going to cut this bad boy down. We're going to put it up. We're going to make sure it never goes back to nature in any way. That could be it. I don't know.
I saw someone cling filming their tree and saving it for the following year. Apparently that works.
Really?
Don't.
I also saw
It
someone
keeps the moisture in,
feeling
does
that they
it?
need to wash their Christmas tree, so actually putting it in the bath and giving it a...
Chloe, you are informing us so much this evening. It's
I know.
terrifying.
It's all this time I spend scrolling through stupid videos on Instagram is actually
Who says it doesn't
proving
pay off?
useful for something, right?
Thank you so much there. Right, up next, Tobias Pearson is going to join me live from snowy Stockholm. See you after the break.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan. Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox,
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Now we're going to go over to snowy Stockholm, and I'm going to be joined by Swedish comedian Tobias Pearson, who's going to talk us about all things Christmas and comedy. Tobias, hey mate, hello.
Hello, how are you? Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, lovely to see you. You had a nice Christmas?
Yeah, fantastic. And we had Christmas yesterday, so I'm relaxed, and the kids are down the pub, everything's fine.
Yes, the great the Swedish way. Well, we have a Norwegian here. Oh,
Hello.
Look at you! Gosh, you're such a patriarch, and you're also giving honour to our late Queen there. Very good. How's your Christmas period been? Have you been gigging a lot over Christmas?
I had my last comedy gig December 15th, and it was nice. People laughed, but But you know what it's like doing Christmas gigs. People are very drunk, and you have to be very, do mainstream topics and be very presentable and nice. And people throw things verbally and throw glasses and stuff. So you just have to sort of, So I'm just glad that I'm alive.
Yeah, no, that's it. I think Christmas for comedians, it's sort of we see it as paying our tax bill, essentially, for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's like Gladiator. Yeah, I know.
Did you get any particularly good heckles this year, or did you just plow through?
No, I mean just people being drunk and say, just interrupting, right? But Swedish people are just drunk and boring. Which, if you get heckles in the UK, people are more interesting, and people can be actually funnier than you are, which is a problem sometimes.
I know, it's the worst. Although what you can do then is use that heckle.
I'd love that. Yeah. Intelligent heckles are good.
Oh yeah, well no, because then you could steal them. Use them in your act.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
what I do. Yeah, I think half my act is just people being funnier than me. Totally works out. It's like free material. So how are things going in Sweden? How was 2023? I think it feels to me from the UK watching that it was kind of a bit of a reckoning for Sweden in terms of politically. Well, just in terms of what's the history of the migrants coming in and the kind of the results of that. It felt like Sweden was kind of, I know this is getting a little bit serious, you might have been drinking today, but it feels
like Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I don't think he was drunk. He was just relaxed and happy, I think. Anyway, but that's my take on him.
Absolutely fine.
No, I know your question. I mean, if I can summarize it quickly, it's like reality is so weird now in Sweden, right? When it comes to crimes and people are shooting each other with machine guns. And it's never been like this before. So people sort of, they have to adapt, and people have to be honest now. And people have tried to say, no, for a decade now, no, this is not happening. You're just crazy. You're far right. You're Nazis. You know all those terms. And now, because we're escalating into anarchy soon. So even the people who denied the current sort of trend, they have to say, okay, we were wrong about this, and we were naive, which is the most Swedish expression. We were naive. We didn't see this coming. And we said, well, we were trying to warn you, like 15 people over here. Yeah, but we didn't want to sound like the bad guys. So we'd rather, keep our mouth shut. And now we have this horrible situation. I don't know what to do. Well, I'm not a political leader.
No, I mean, but as comics, I think that we do have a slight role in pushing the conversation a little bit, but I feel in honesty about British comedians that we've absolutely failed in that role. I think that we've been cowards. And I think comics haven't used that freedom that we get to talk about these issues in a somewhat safe space to further this, what's called the Overton window about what is acceptable to talk about in politics, because everybody's just so scared.
Yeah, and you know what it's like as well. You need to pay the rent. So most comedians, want to go on telly and they want to be liked. So it's comedy nowadays. It's just people saying, hello guys, are you all right? Me too. Do you have a great night? Are you a couple? You look lovely. Thank you. It's not comedy. It's just people trying to be friendly.
I mean, to be honest, you were just doing my act. I feel a little bit offended. You were just quoting my act there, so it's a bit out of order.
I know, but it's one of your best bits. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. Oh, you're so good looking. Yeah, no, it's the genius bit. But yeah, do you think now that the wheel is turning? Do you think the more people, more comics are being braver and talking about this stuff?
Inevitably, I think you have to, because again, it's like all over Europe, and it's chaos, and there's a lot of there's fighting in the streets and demonstrations, and in the UK, people planting flags everywhere, and we had the horrible murder of 3 Swedish football fans in Brussels, and things it's just crazy, and we don't even have to talk about the situation in Palestine and stuff. But it's like if you don't address any of these topics, I think you don't have any credibility. You can't just get up on stage and complain about air travel and crisps. You have to address something of what's really happening in the world. I think I'm not saying it's easy. And I understand that people sort of don't... It's hard to write jokes which are topical and edgy and clever and at the same time funny. It's really hard.
It is really hard. That's why I don't bother with the funny stuff. I just leave that bit. It's just much easier to not do that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting here. Like I said, I really feel in some ways we are a little bit behind you politically with where we're at. But I think also comics still feel very reluctant to really talk about this stuff, and certainly the comics that you might think are the braver ones definitely still are not really addressing any of this, still live in fear.
Yeah.
And
I know. It just takes, I mean, if you just push it a little bit, people go, oh, because people are not used to you addressing it. But the thing is, I make a joke about Sweden's non-response to these events. So I sort of joke about the Swedish way of not dealing with it. And that's fine. I can joke about, the people being scared. But if I joke about the actual topics or the people who do horrible things, people go, oh, he's awful. Is he evil? It's because everyone is sort of left-leaning, nice, fluffy people, and they get scared. And if an audience gets scared, it spreads around the room, and it's hard to do anything. But I mean, if more people do like one joke per set, just one topical joke with some kind of edgy, salty twist, I think we will eventually open a lot of doors. I think
so too. I just hope that British comics start moving forward a little bit. And are you going to be coming back to the UK soon?
I think I have to, because people don't laugh at home anymore. So I love. That's why I come. I'm a refugee. That's why I'm in your country to.
Oh well, we need more. Coming over. And do you find a big difference between the UK audiences and the Swedish audiences?
Yeah, but it feels like, I mean, if you're doing gigs, I mean, mainly in London, but I mean, if you do gigs in the UK, people are from all over the world. You can have someone from Spain, someone from. It's a lot of. You can talk about anything. Whereas back home, it's like, it's more, I don't know, it's boring. It's fine. I make a living, but it's more exciting for me to make a fool of myself on over.
Well, mate, I'm doing it on TV, so it's all good. Tobias, so good to see you. I hope to see you in the flesh soon. I'm going to let you get back to your Queen Elizabeth mug and whatever is in it. And thank you, and Merry Christmas, mate. Good to see you. That was Tobias Persson there. Thank you, live from Stockholm. Coming up is my paper review show, where we are going to be diving into tomorrow's papers. We'll see you back in 3.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it.
Headliners. You don't have to bother reading the newspaper. We've got it covered for you. Every night at 11 p.m. and repeated every morning at 5 a.m. We won't send you to sleep like some of the other paper review shows out there.
So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tired of the usual focus-tested, pre-prepared Westminster runaround? Well, so am I.
So you want higher taxes?
Is your department to blame for this? Are you rethinking this policy? Every Sunday at 9:30, I'll be sitting down with those in power to get the truth about the issues affecting you.
Let's be honest, we've known about the cost pressures of this project for years, not months.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show with personality. On GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going to bring you tomorrow's news tonight in the most entertaining pay-per-view show on telly. Now, I'm normally on Headliners, and when we hear whoever is presenting this show read that line, we always go, hey, we're the most entertaining news show. What's going on? And I've just realised for the first time that that is the line that is written in the auto cue. So I'm going to take back the blame to any of the presenters. Someone put that in there. Fair enough. We're going to get rid of it, though. We're the most... OK, headline. No, but right now, we're going to do a very entertaining pay-per-review show. We have the very first front pages. They've been delivered for my press pack. We have them right here. And we are going to have, first of all, we have the I. Tories facing new general election from Farage's party. Then we have... Who else? We got coming up. Are we just going to talk about that now? That's right. That's what we don't do, actually, normally. Normally, we have our own thing. Oh, look, there it is, Daily Mail. Oh. King's Christmas plea for peace. And we see the family there. We discussed that one earlier. Next, we're going to have the The Independent. Prison inspector overcrowding is a ticking time bomb. We've actually seen that a few times, or variations of that. And we then are going to have The Sun. All is... forgiven. Fergie, forgiven. Fergie, forgiven. OK, I see what they did there. Very good. Do we have any more papers? Is that it? That's it. There we go. Well, we're going to go back now to our fantastic panellists. We're going to talk about all of this stuff there. We have just seen the news for the first time. It's just come in. Let's go straight away with the I. Now, the Tories facing new general election threat from Farage's party. Is this a big danger? It seems like a big danger to the Tories. Ingrid, what do you think?
Well, they have gained a lot of points, and so therefore it's taking the upward path. But I don't think they're quite ready yet. And then there's the rumours about Boris joining with Nigel Farage, which, if that is anything close to the truth, which I can't imagine it is, I think that would be the kiss of death. It would for me. I wouldn't even go near it.
Really? Is that what do you think? Is this desperate? What is the play here? They can't really expect to win. They're going to hurt the Tories.
It's just a bit baffling. You know, you look at some of the... They say they've selected... This is Reform UK, I assume, Farage's party. He says that he's got no official position within it, but he's honorary president, but it's his party. You know, of course, I think Richard Tice is the leader of Reform UK, and they say they've already selected 440 candidates for the general election, whenever that may be. And you've seen some of the footage of them, you know, over the past few years, at their rallies, at their conferences, all those kind of things. The candidates aren't serious people. Most of them have been nicked from UKIP or from the right of the Conservative Party. And there was this fantastic interview done by Politics Joe, where two of their candidates couldn't actually tell them what the difference was between the Reform UK and the Conservative Party. So I think if their own candidates don't know what the difference is, the party isn't worth being in. It's you know, there'll always be a vacuum for right-wing parties in the UK. You know, first it was UKIP and now it's Reform UK, and I'm sure something else will come along, but they're just not a serious party. They've got no serious plan. I just don't know why they're bothering.
But, I mean, what do you think, Chloe? I mean, there's going to be a threat, regardless of a Project Joe clip or not.
Possibly. It depends on the seat and the makeup of the people in that seat. If they want to rebel against the Tories, are they more likely to lean towards Labour or towards something, you know, potentially more on the right? Now, Reform is a party that does quite well in polling, but then from the various by-elections we've seen that actually, when it comes to the ballot box, people aren't voting for them the way that the polls suggest. So I don't think they're as much of a threat as the polls suggest. The Peter Bone, presumably upcoming by-election we're going to have, is going to be interesting, because that is a seat where if people want to rebel from the Tories, they're actually potentially more likely to go towards Reform, because that's a very sort of pro-Brexit seat in terms of the sort of demographic of the voters there. So that will be an interesting one to observe, and I'm sure there'll be, you know, much better predictions to make from the by-elections that we've had than the polling where I hear a lot of people say, yeah, I'm going to vote reform, but I think when it actually comes to the ballot box and they actually see, do they have a solid set of policies across the board rather than just say on small boats, I think people might err on the side of caution and vote for one of the main parties.
I mean, Peter Bone, is that Wellingborough? Is that his seat? It's that kind of area. It's not really, I don't think small boats is in the top 10 polled issues in Wellingborough, or at least that section of the country. And, you know, that's Reform UK's big thing.
Is it because it's landlocked?
Yeah, pretty much. We're going to stop the boats. It's quite rural Wellingborough as well, you know, big farming lands. And, you know, Reform's big thing. We're going to stop the boats, going to stop the migrants. Great
But
policy.
it'll still impact on them, so...
Well, in Wellingborough, it's... I think
might be
it's
also
like 80% British.
Of course, they might be also just trying to sort of force Tory's hand and push them a bit further, maybe. I don't know. We can see. We also had the King's speech. We had the Daily Mail going with King's Christmas plea for peace, and a photo there of them. And then they had Fergie is back. Have you met Fergie? Do you know?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
She seems like a nice person.
Well, I think she's great. I really do. She's very down to earth. I mean, she's made sort of like her mistakes, but you know, nobody's perfect, and. I like to see that she's back. I think that is all part of almost a peace process, and let's put the past behind. And I think the relationship that she and Andrew have is really fantastic. It's a good example of the marriage didn't work, but you can be very civil and you can really like each other. You don't have to love each other, but they obviously really like each other, and it's great for the girls.
Also, he needs the support that he can get.
He does, right.
I mean, he made an appearance today at the church with the rest of the family. What do you think of that, Andy? Do you think it's too soon for him to be brought back into the fold?
I think, well, he's not appeared in any of the official photos, which I think is probably a good move for the royal family and their press team. I think it's sensible. It's still very, very sore. And I think give him some time, because he's done some naughty things. He's associated with some naughty people. You know, the scale of the naughtiness that he's done, up for grabs, you know, allegedly, all these things. But, you know, I think maybe keep out the limelight. But it's good that he's with the family. But it's
family, that's the key word.
But it's interesting that Harry wasn't there, but he was.
That's his choice.
I mean, that's the...
Well, not his, it was Meghan's choice.
But, you know, the fact that Andy's there and Harry isn't is quite interesting. But I have to say, whoever Fergie's publicist is needs to get a raise, because that's the second front page that she's been on in a week, because she was on the Sun's front page a couple of days ago for Celebrity Big Brother. And now she's on the front page of like 2 papers today, so her publicist deserves a bonus. I mean, fantastic work from them.
Yeah. She's got a good PR agency behind her, clearly.
Yeah, and do you think that this has been a successful Christmas for the royal family, Chloe? We talk about them a lot here, but I'm curious about how younger people actually feel about them. Do they have an impact on your life?
I appreciate the royal family. I know there are many other young people who say, you know, trash the monarchy, get rid of it.
Oh, you might. OK, fine.
But
OK.
I appreciate
sorry.
I think people have looked too much into the Christmas message by the King, saying, "Oh, he's got a Christmas tree we don't like."
Yeah, sorry. What about you? Do you think they've had a good Christmas?
The royal family.
The royal family, yeah. And King Charles.
Yes, I do. The sadness being, of course, that Harry and Meghan aren't there, because that shows it's such a glaring open wound, and that's uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, look, let's leave the royal family alone. Now, the Daily Express has Act Now to give Britain hope of New Year. We're talking about the interest rates here. Are they going to go down? Obviously, I think people want them to go down, certainly people with mortgages that are being renewed. Andy, what do you think? Is it likely, or are we just going to play it safe a bit longer?
Who knows? Honestly, who knows? It's one of Rishi's pledges, isn't it, to get interest rates down, to get inflation down. You know, it's one of his pledges that he doesn't actually control. It's the Bank of England that sorts it out. So, you know, I hope that it does. You know, it's just the economic mismanagement and the policies of the Conservative government, you know, since Liz Truss onwards, has just been
So my understanding is that when...
Sorry, I should point out. Yeah. So, yeah, and what about, does it make any difference to you if interest rates are going to go down, Ingrid? Or?
Oh, yes, definitely, because it's going to encourage trade, and it has gone down, but the Bank of England have got it so wrong over and over and over again, and I don't know why they've got so much control over it. Also, Rishi Sunak, I actually have really very little respect for him, and being the Chancellor at one point, and I don't think he did a very good job then, but if he's got any kind of memory of his Chancellor days, he should bring that into being the PM and sort it out a bit better. But yes, it's terribly important because it inspires confidence, and it inspires confidence in trade and also imports.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. I mean, I think a lot of people are pushing for it. A lot of people are kind of desperate, really, but whether it's actually going to happen or not, That's what we're going to see. Yeah, no, it's better. So it's interesting to have. Did you miss the news at all? Was it nice to have a day of no news?
I haven't watched the news or read a paper for 3 days, and it's been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, but you are talking on a news channel
right now.
Live on GBNews.
I know. But I have to say, it has been really nice. It's because it's horrible news at the moment, and I don't like it. So I want to have that positive sort of Christmas feeling and not get sort of upset about what I'm seeing. And it's just war, 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 death, 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 children and families, and I can't bear it. And I just think about Bethlehem and all the families, the children who died in both sides of the war and everything.
It's a tragedy, and we want it to be over.
It's too awful. And at Christmas time, and you know, they're just not there. There's places missing at the table, and awful.
No, it's very sad. Yeah, we haven't talking about some of the more tragic events that are going on. It's quite nice to actually keep it somewhat local and somewhat light. Still, you know, what, an hour and 15 minutes to go for Christmas. that other stuff is not going to go away there. And we're going to talk a little bit now about Clay. Sorry, because your mic, I should say, your mic went out, but you're back now. What did you think about the interest rates? Do you hope that they're going to go up? Do you have a thought about it?
I don't hope that they're going to go up. What I'm going to say
sorry, go down, yeah.
I don't think there's much chance of them going down soon because, so we've now had the confirmation that the rate is going to stay the same, 5.25%. Now, my understanding is that on the committee that was deciding that, you had 6 people voting for it to stay at 5.25 and 3 people wanting it to go higher.
OK.
So there was nobody there suggesting that rates need to come down. So I think they're going to be high for some time. There is some suggestion that around April time we may see some movement, but until then, at least,
seems like
it's sticking.
But obviously,
so don't think that your mortgage costs are going to go down.
Well, I just think also people might, you know, but it's tomorrow, it's Boxing Day. Sales starting, people might think, oh, well, rates are going to go down soon, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, don't be too wishful, I'm afraid.
Back to normal, I know, it's a sad state. I
think we had a Prime Minister and Chancellor who inspired economic just concern. They didn't leave the Bank of England feeling, oh, no, that actually interest rates can't go down. If only we had an inspiring fiscal platform that our government ran on it.
I don't know, sort of like who's wagging the tail, the dog, the tail wagging the dog, or the dog wagging the tail, and that means sort of government Bank of England. I think that's a bit of a mess.
I mean, well, the Bank of England responds to government fiscal policy, so I think it does lie with the government to, inspire confidence. But, of course, the Bank of England, it's been independent, over 20 years now, 25 years. When was it, 1997? I want to say. It's called, first day of office, Gordon Brown made Bank of England independent in 1997. It's been a long time for them to figure out the dynamic. And it's quite sad that they haven't
figured it out. Exactly.
It's a real shame.
No, but then with Rishi Sunak making that one of his 5 pledges, it was sort of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If they get everything sorted economically, you can't really take credit for that. I know you're saying that, he should be more inspiring and whatnot, but the fact is there are a lot of other factors at play, arguably greater, that is impacting their decision-making. And also with, inflation now going down, arguably that really doesn't have anything to do with him. So when he made that one of his 5 pledges, he was just looking at the future and going, it has to come down.
It is in part Rishi and the Chancellor, because we know that your spending and your taxing is affecting inflation as well as the interest rates. But it is quite embarrassing for Rishi when out of his 5 pledges he can only meet one of them where, say, at least it's half down to the Bank of England. It's not a good look, is it? So then he feels the need to come up with, 5 more pledges on immigration. Oh, we failed on the others, so let's bring out more of them.
I know, and
it's just, it's all going wrong and more wrong for him at the moment.
When he said those pledges, I think people just thought they weren't even pledges, they were just inevitable things that were going to happen with the passage of time. And yet, here we are a year later.
Having the same conversation.
Well, having the same, but time has not moved fast enough for him. And actually, those, like say, the immigration that's only down by 1/3 with the boats. NHS is still in a state.
Well, I mean, picking a pledge like stop the boats. I mean, did he really think he was going to get it down to 0 boats? So he's always going to be judged as a failure on that policy. And then having these, the inflation target whilst having grow the economy as another target. It's quite hard to do both at once. You might have to bring inflation down, then grow the economy a bit more later. I mean, we can get into the nuances of that, but it is hard to hit both of those pledges at the same time. So he gave himself a difficult task.
And the problem is with simplistic pledges like that, they make good sound bites, but then, of course, people remember them and will hold you to them.
Yeah, stop the boat sounds a lot nicer than bring boat crossings down by a third. But it means that we're going to say he's a failure if he doesn't bring it down to 0 boats.
Nearly stop the boats. That's the new slogan.
Nearly stop the boats. That's what we should go for instead.
Very good. Right, coming up, my panel share their nominations for their greatest Britons and union jackasses. More of tomorrow's papers after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain. Join us, Tom and Emily,
To find out what's happening in the heart of Westminster.
and why it matters to you.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And from your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you.
GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Have a great Saturday night with me, Leo Curse, on the Saturday Night Showdown. It's a crazy world out there, so come and make fun of it with me, my panel of comedians, and a couple of people who actually know what they're talking about. This Saturday Night Showdown is your front row ticket to the clown show every Saturday, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
Your weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9 on GB News. Big stories, big guests, and big laughs as we get you ready for a cracking weekend. That's Friday Night Live with Mark Dolan, Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks, the admission's free.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens. With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to give you accurate reporting every day. When the news breaks, we'll be there with bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up to the headlines with headliners every morning at 5 a.m. We treat you to the day's biggest stories before anyone else, 7 days a week. You can catch up on everything you need to know before you've even had your kippers. Headliners every morning at 5 a.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News. It is time to return to the paper review show on telly that comes before headliners. And more front pages have just been delivered hot off the press. I'm joined again by my press pack. We have broadcaster and TV personality Ingrid, who we're going to talk about this in a second, sorry, Andy McDonald, trade unionist, and Chloe Dobbs. But looking there, we are looking at the Times. We have Labour plots alternative to the Rwanda asylum plan. That's going to be pretty interesting what they're going to be doing. That has Labour actually announced a policy to do with immigration. We'll see. We have the Daily Telegraph, and they are saying the NHS is under fire for menopause drug lottery. And for anybody with someone or who are going through the menopause themselves, that is an important story and a big deal. And we also have The Guardian. Anti-obesity U-turns risk child health time bomb report warns. OK, well, first of all, now this is a big story. Obviously, we haven't had a chance to look at any of it here, but it seems like Labour are coming up with some of their own policies here. Ingrid, let's go to you first. What do you think?
Well, I would love to know what their alternative to Rwanda is.
Yeah.
You know, but Rwanda's not going to work, so any alternative is going to be just as likely to fail.
Yep.
But there is a possibility it might succeed. I very much doubt it. I don't think anything is really going to succeed. We've just got to go grassroots.
Yeah, what do you think, Andy? I mean, it's interesting now that they're finally sort of stepping up, at least. If anything, immigration is definitely becoming much more of a hot topic and something Labour just can't ignore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, in the top 5 issues that voters across the country are concerned about. Any political party that hopes to become a government, like Labour do, should be tackling it. And I think they sent out their shadow immigration ministers to speak to some policy experts to... I think that's what the Times is referencing. I think I saw it on TV earlier. But, they've sent some of their experts out. I don't think they've solidified a policy yet. OK. But they've sent their ministers and their policy advisors out to consult the experts. I think what is floating at the moment is agreeing with France and the European Union a set mandate of a set number, so then they'll be able to, once that number's reached, turn the boats around legally. And I think that's what is currently being considered
well, it
by the
says
party.
here that it does say that they are taking the Rwanda-style deportation off the table, but then it says
that's no surprise.
Yes, no, it's a somewhat toxic thing that doesn't seem to be going through anyway. But it does say, as you say, Andy, that but they're also talking about these sort of offshore processing schemes. But that kind of feels that sounds the same anyway.
It sounds similar. I mean, we'll see as time goes on what the meat of their suggestions actually are. But one thing to note is that until recently, Labour have done much better just keeping their mouth shut. They've done well by just not being the Tories. And as soon as they've started opening their mouth, suggesting policies, they've often got themselves into a pickle. So I think last time Keir Starmer opened his mouth and started suggesting alternatives to the Tories' policy on the small boats, he was then accused of cozying up to the EU, and Brexiteers were scared because he wanted to closer ties with the EU to solve the problem, and it didn't look very well in the papers for him. So be interesting to see how whatever new suggestions he's got goes down, but I have a feeling he may tie himself into some knots.
That's it. It's not an easy topic. And just very finally here, we're going to just do quickly The Guardian. Anti-obesity U-turn risks child health time bomb. This is something I personally feel quite strongly about. Food strategy failings to expose the poorest to health problems. This is a problem. And again, I don't know if it's huge, but we have to deal with it, surely, Ingrid. I mean, this is, as they say, it's a time bomb for this country's future.
Yes, yeah.
Medically, health-wise, but also financially.
Oh, completely. And also, I mean, the thing is, I think it's more than 50% of the country is obese. And that's not just children, that's including adults as well.
Fine.
But again, you know, I am so anti-pharmaceuticals now, and I just think this is the great big thing. Processed food, they're still shoving processed food into their mouths. Schools aren't really doing it. Jamie Oliver did that thing years ago. It didn't take off. That was such a perfect example. They don't teach children to cook at school. Parents aren't able to do it. Everything they eat is rubbish, and that has got to stop. If you can take that away, perfect.
Well, there we go. Let me introduce you after the show to a little man called Lewis Schaefer. Well, it is time to reveal today's greatest Britain and Union jackasses. We're going to plough through this. We have, first of all, who is going to be there? Who is Ingrid? You're going to go first. Who's your greatest Britain today?
It's very, very appropriate for two reasons. It's Christmas Day and I'm Norwegian, and I want to say thank you, Norwegian government, for, again... For the tree
that's not going to be replanted there. Annie, who's your...
My greatest Britain nominee today is King Charles. I think, you know, he stepped up to the plate this year with the King's speech. You know, last year it was a bit uneven territory following his late mother, but I think he's in the flow now. We've got a proper king.
And Chloe, what about yourself?
I should make that plural greatest Britons, because mine are all of the parkrun volunteers.
Oh, my God. No, OK, it's King Charles. Very easy, peasy there. Very quickly. Jackasses, very quickly, 2 words.
The people that complained about the little Robert that came into Aldi and they wanted it put down and the pest controls and
Andy,
awful.
James Cleverly for his disgusting spiking joke the other day. Disgusting.
Chloe, what do you think?
I realised mine's not British. It's the pro-Palestine protesters that crashed at Carol service in Australia.
That's the easiest decision. I'm going to make the pro-Palestinian marchers. Yes, I'll go with that one. Easy peasy. So thank you so much, my panellists. Now, I'm going to be back again tomorrow at 9 p.m. Next up, it's headlines, but let me say thank you very much for coming. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you very much to the producers. And next up, we have headliners. Good night. And now I'm going to start drinking alcohol. I'm looking forward to it. Take care.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Greg Dewhurst and welcome to your latest GB News weather. We've had quite a wet Christmas day, but the good news is that rain is clearing, and for Boxing Day it'll be much drier and brighter as this brief ridge of high pressure starts to build in. However, it doesn't last long before further weather systems move in as we head into Wednesday. So this evening time, rain still clearing the far southeast, some showery rain for Northern Ireland, southern Scotland, northern England for a time, but for the vast majority overnight it's dry with clear spells. Some wintry showers continue across northern parts of Scotland, some icy stretches here. Elsewhere, temperatures lower than they have been of late, but still fairly mild across southern counties of England and Wales. So it means a bright start to Boxing Day, plenty of sunny spells, a chilly start, icy stretches slowly melting away across parts of Scotland, and then for most a dry, bright day, plenty of hazy sunshine, though the cloud thickening from the southwest through into the afternoon, outbreaks of rain developing here. A fresher day for everyone, temperatures nearer to average 4 to 7 Celsius, mild air returning across the southwest. Then it's very unsettled on Wednesday. Outbreaks of heavy rain, strong winds push across the country, snow across the Scottish hills too, and temperatures remain well above average for the time of year. Some of that rain will be heavy at times, and it stays unsettled through Thursday and Friday. Further showery rain in places and temperatures above average.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
GB News is Britain's news channel, and now you can support it. All you have to do is scan that QR code that's up on your screen right now, or you can go to gbnews.com/support and become a GB News member. You'll have fantastic benefits. We're also going to organise special events where you as GB News members can meet the presenters, the on-screen faces. Scan the QR code or go to gbnews.com/support. Thank you so much.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick